Welcome back, Red Spotters. I'm Alexis, and I'm here with Kyle, and we were supposed to have a different show today. More on that in a bit, but we're here with another one of these special, we're talking about whatever the hell comes to our mind editions. So this is Red Spotlight number 336. Stay tuned, if you dare. Kyle, how are you doing today?
Why do you always fucking especially with the last episode that we did,
right?
You sounded like a fucking radio announcer and all that shit. You were like you went to like late night freaking radio host right there. You were like, and so today we have a symphony soda with some classic jazz. Yeah.
I am so totally not trying to do that. I just slip into it. Is that what? Okay. For those listening, and maybe this isn't. Look, Kyle, and this is not anything to say against you. I know sometimes I throw shade. It's fine. We're all busy. I cannot expect you to listen to every single episode of our podcasts. I don't know when was the last time you listened to it, but I don't know if this has been going on for a while now. I've just slipped into well, you and I are hosts of podcasts.
Broadcaster. Well, it's like, okay.
We have our thing, you know? That's kind of what we do as hosts.
But you're very casual about your intros. You're just like, hello, welcome to Red Spotlight Entertainment, number something, and all that stuff. And then here, like, you came out really peppy. I've never seen you pepped before.
Well, you caught me in a good mood, man. It's a holiday weekend. I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Did you get laid? Did you get laid and I not know it?
No, unfortunately.
Damn.
No. But I am leaving the area. I am escaping the heat, and I am about to embark on a 4-day excursion to the faraway land of, I almost made it sound like far, far away from Shrek, although it might as well be that, San Diego, California, where I get to go and visit some beaches that I haven't gone to in such a long time. And by the way, in case it was kind of a misunderstanding, I meant beach as in a beach, like not anything else, because some people may misconstrue it as me referring to anything else. I'm not gonna go visit some bitches. I'm talking about beaches. So.
Unless that's what you're gonna do as well.
Well, you've no way of knowing. You have really no way of knowing.
Who wouldn't? Who's the judge, really?
Right.
I mean, this is 2021. We are very sex positive here on Red Spotlight Entertainment.
Let's not get anywhere near that today, please.
That's what she said.
Oh boy.
Boy, that's also what she said.
Okay, we cannot turn this entire show into a one damn innuendo or euphemism.
We can. I know we
will not.
Can.
We will not. We will lose all of our viewers. Listen, I don't know. I guess I'm just in a bit of a good mood. Yesterday, I don't know what was. I was recording the Loki podcast, and I'm sure you want to mention Loki in a bit. But yesterday with David, and I don't know what the fuck was going on. The first 40 minutes, I was like, man, I'm in this. And then it must have been the day. Now, it was a long day and I had little sleep the night prior, but toward that last hour, and this hardly happens to me. I suspect maybe it happens to you every now and then. I felt myself just like struggling to stay awake.
Okay. To me, it's never a struggle to stay awake when I'm recording or doing anything like that. It's like, oh, I've lost interest in the conversation entirely, and I'm supposed to keep on, conversation, especially like when we do like Once Upon a Retrospects, where it's just one long continuous conversation on one, particular topic. I just lose interest, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then whenever you hear like dead air, specifically from my end, that's where you could kind of tell where it dies off. But I know what you mean. But except for you, it's more of fatigue or anything like that. I mean, but yeah, I get you. By the way, while recording, I am going to be sipping on Chardonnay. So
it's the season for it. And even if it wasn't, who gives a shit? That's how you should do a podcast anyway. Yep. We got to do it in style. We got to, live our best life and do what we can. Well, you look, we have to. I'm sure our listeners know at this point, and I have to think it's the same for you with you and your schedule on Fantasy Fair. We more like I think 9 times out of 10, maybe even 9.9 times out of 10, if we're recording a podcast, it's going to be at nighttime.
Yeah. Deep in the nighttime.
Sometimes deep in the nighttime. There are many occasions where
we record until like it's like 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock.
Well, not so much these days. Thankfully, we've not gotten to that point, but it's not, I think, a normal schedule. If there's like a good 2-hour podcast, which that's like the usual average of all the shows that we do, and if we start recording at 9 p.m., there's a good chance we don't stop until 11:45, midnight. Yeah. That's usually how it goes. And this is after obviously a long day. All of us work, and so you can only imagine the kind of exhaustion we all have.
It's so funny. Throughout the whole entire day, it doesn't matter if like I'm into the subject or not. I'm just like, I have to do a podcast. And then in the middle of podcasting, I'm like, oh, I'm doing a podcast. I'm doing a thing.
No, yeah, I feel exactly the same way. Last week, I was caught with a busy work week. I had to cover a city council for work, and I had to write like 3 articles out of it. And that happens. That's a lot of information, obviously. All the while, of course, I think I recorded 3 podcasts last week. And I'm like, and the idea of doing it, I'm like, do I really want to do that? And yet when I'm doing them, I'm like, and I'm actually sitting down and recording them, it's like a different story. Like, all the energy comes back into me, at least for the first part of it, obviously. So
a lot of things come back into me, you know.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but like, listen. I've been trying, especially this last year or so. I've been trying to maybe be less informal and more like broadcast, especially with the intros and the outros, because evidently, and this is true, I don't recall ever having a single conversation with you about this, but you know, it may have been the first 100 or so episodes when you asked me to take over as host for the Red Spotlight podcast. Remember that a couple years ago?
Horrible mistake.
Oh, sure, yeah. Horrible mistake. I'm sure you're glad, though, that you don't have to deal with a lot of the Peter Martinez isms anymore. So,
oh yeah, I basically like shoved him to you and like, here.
You cut it out of your life.
You got full custody over Peter Martinez. Have fun.
Yeah, literally. But I had no idea, and it wasn't until you kept mentioning it, and I didn't know what it meant when the shows that you would be on here, when you said stay under the spotlight, and I'm like, what is he talking about, stay under the spotlight? And for 100 episodes or so, I was like closing out the shows, not knowing that we had an official tagline at the end of the show. And I was like, wait, what the fuck? And so now, I think since the latter part of 2020, I have been closing out every single show. The last thing I say is, stay under the spotlight. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. So now I'm finally doing it the correct way. But it's like, I never remember you and I having... I know, but you and I don't remember ever having a single sit-down conversation like, Alexis, by the way, this is the end of the show. You have to say this.
I thought it was an
obvious
unspoken rule. I thought everybody knew it. It's like how I close off the Fantasy Fair with "Stay magical, everyone." I mean, that's the closing of the show, and that's the fucking like. If you look at the YouTube banner, if you look underneath, it says "Stay under the spotlight."
Yeah.
What the fuck did you think I meant?
I don't know. It's just like you and I necessarily don't have the same hosting style, so it may just be, well, the first couple of 100 episodes or so, maybe even 200, since you asked me to host the Red Spotlight podcast on a permanent basis. It was I have a very casual way of just talking, obviously. So there wasn't much preparation. In all honesty, for most of the shows that I've ever been a part of, whether it be as host or as a panelist in the days that you were hosting it on a main time frame, there wasn't much preparation unless we were gathering some sort of list show. Maybe then. But like most of the shows, I would wager that most of our podcasts are having to do with a conversation around something we just watched and us talking about what we liked, what we didn't like. And all the preparation you need for that is to just watch it.
Yeah. And which, like, that's the way I like to roll with things. I don't like putting like asterisks on different things. I just write the initial outline of the whole entire thing. Like, for example, if we're doing a news show, I just put in the outlines. More so nowadays, I'm more like recently I sent you guys like the Google Doc and all that stuff of what we're going to be talking about and all the information. But other than that, there was just nothing, because I like to incorporate the human element in the conversation, and I think it makes it more fun for both of us, me and the person that I'm talking to. So I find it more fun and enjoyable versus like having to go by a freaking rubric. And I think that takes out the fun out of a conversation, you know?
I think if memory serves correct, in the early days of the show, you did have more or less an outline of sorts when you were getting through the news topics. And I don't necessarily remember you being fond of that, only because it kept getting in the way, or we had to stop we had to push pause on like whatever we were talking about for you to get through a script or something. So it can be something in the way. I know that when you asked me, I think it was the summer of 2018, to start hosting the show on a permanent basis, at the time I was at American University, which, if you're not aware of my history here on the show, I went to a broadcast journalism school, and that entire year, part of my educational experience was to act, think, talk, and write more like a broadcaster. And so it definitely influenced the show in that regard, especially in the news heavy episodes, where I would write out a script of sorts of the main stories in broadcast writing. Broadcast writing is a specialty kind of writing. It's not like you're writing an article, you're writing a sentence or an essay. You have to really like break it down and make it easy for people to hear, since of course it is an audio format.
And that's the difference between you and I. You're more of the, I would say, the Billy Joel or Elton John-esque way of performing things, because like both were classically trained. Both were classically trained. You could tell with the way that they compose music and all that stuff. I'm more of the Nirvana, Exodus, Metallica kind of way of like, hey, I just picked up an instrument or microphone and just went at it, you know? So I guess that's different. You know, we have different methods. I do want to also clarify, like, I don't want to make it seem as if like all the shows I script out, like and most of the heart of the shows that we do are based around a fluid conversation. Oftentimes, if you couldn't tell, if we're sitting down for a review, that's the first time we're talking about it. Usually, especially since After Dark hasn't been a thing this last year because of COVID, most of our first conversations with each other after having watched a show or a movie are the first that you're seeing. And so it's not as if like a lot of shows, I'm sure, in this space, before the fact, they discuss with each other like all the ins and outs of what they thought about something. Here, you're getting the raw, like, first couple of like shared feelings coming across. And for me personally, why I like writing down some stuff when I do the shows, especially if it involves, if it involves anything,
if I see something, especially on
Why do we always wind up doing BTS talk?
I don't know. Again, that's a tendency of ours. We just kind of slip into it. It's kind of where we are here. But I don't know. Maybe some person out there is interested in how we think, what the thinking is behind the show. What I was going to say is, if there are things that I see, like certain think pieces or talking points, whether it be both positive or negative, I like to have it written down somewhere where I can see, rather than me forgetting about it and like, damn, I wished I would have mentioned this on the show. So yeah, like it's like every now and then, like for example, when we talked about Another Round a few weeks ago, with Thomas Vinterberg and Mads Mikkelsen, I had a great article that I think was, I don't even remember the damn outlet, but they had a great interview with Vinterberg about his inspiration and thought process behind the movie that I really wanted to interject. When we did the Guillermo del Toro series, we had a lot of Peter and I were like swapping quotes from interviews of him. Because that guy he's one of those guys that you just love to sit down and listen talk about movies. And so in that sense, I feel like that's helped conversations, especially since like, invariably there are spaces and shows where you may run out of things to say. And so that can help certain things. But, yeah. All of which is to say is I have now officially close out every show with Stand to the Spotlight, and I always mention when our podcasts drop, and every place you can hear it. I say anywhere you listen to podcasts, and you remind me if I miss one. There is Apple, Spotify, Castbox, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Stitcher, and YouTube. Is there one missing there? Google Podcasts.
Basically, because this is what I found out when I was looking at, like, I was trying to see like what major outlets to put the podcasts on. You know, all the ones on Red Spotlight Entertainment Network. It turns out there are some sites that automatically pluck your RSS feed and put it on their website just for archival purposes, I guess. And so, like, there are websites that I don't even know of that we're on. So, like Podchaser, I had no idea that, you know, we were on there, you know.
Huh, really?
Some other places, yeah, but don't, like, include Podchaser. So I would just say, check us out everywhere you listen to podcasts.
Yeah. The big ones, I would say Apple, Spotify, and Google. Are the big outlets.
Yeah.
I tend to have an iPhone, so Apple Podcasts are my go-to.
Yeah, so either you have, you know, a laptop, Android, or an Apple product, you're more than able to find all of our work on there. So, yeah, and believe us, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of conversations and all that shit. So, and
well, thank you for doing it. Thank you for putting the podcast out there, and thank you for making it available to all of us. All of the podcasts that we do.
Yeah, it's just accessibility, because I find that really, really important, you know, because like accessibility, when people say, where do I find it? And I'm like, I don't know, just fucking Google it.
Yeah, although be warned, there are still some pages that have the old feeds when we were on different platforms.
Yeah, like listen notes and all that stuff. They still, the last episode, according to that website that we've ever done, was That's America's Ass Part 2.
Was that our previous platform?
That was on podcasts.com when we were on that.
Oh, that's right.
That was the last one we did on that.
It wasn't Wooshka?
No. It was on podcast.com, so.
That's America's Ass Part 2?
Yeah.
That was Avengers Endgame.
Yeah,
which
was second discussion on that.
That was over 2 years ago.
Yeah, so.
Jeez, man.
So it's behind.
Over 2 years ago. Can you believe that? Oh my goodness! How quickly the time
Hello,
flies.
Margaret. Where's my prune juice?
Like, think about this. The
Have you
podcast.
seen my teeth?
This is the
Anyone?
7th year. This is the 7th year of the Red Spotlight podcast.
7 years. Jesus. Time not well spent.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Now, we were talking about, before we pressed record here beforehand, I had hoped to be doing a different show today. I had teased in the Loki recap episode, which was the previous episode, that we were going to be doing, finally, our top 10 show of 2020.
And in typical Red Spotlight Entertainment fashion, it went kablooey. Things got blown out of proportion. And Alexis, you of all people should know not to manifest things before it happens.
I know, man.
Lo and behold, here we are.
It was bad luck to say, to officially say a show is happening before we actually recorded it.
It's like, okay, I remember. Okay, typical Kyle me. Let's wind the clocks back last January, where we were like, okay, we have a hotel down that we're gonna stay at. We have a Disneyland dates booked. We're gonna do it in April. Let's do it. I made the foolish mistake of like, Moreno, do you want to announce it on the podcast? And she was like, okay, let's announce it on the podcast.
Oh my God.
We have officially planned a Disney date and we're going to do it. And lo and behold, just a little thing. I don't know if you heard about this. It's called the coronavirus and the pandemic. I don't know if you heard about those two things, those two entities. It came clashing upon the plans, and here we are. And I was just like, I shouldn't have said anything. I feel, honestly, I'm sorry, world, for doing this. Because I bestowed the pandemic upon us because I dared to make plans ahead of time and announce it to the world. And in true fashion, it never happened because I manifested something opposite of that. Like, oh, you're planning a Disney trip? Well, fuck you. Let me put on something else. Let me conjure something different for you guys. And it's going to be the complete opposite. How about no plans at all for the next year? So there we are. It's now 2021. Fingers crossed, hoping things shift. Don't want to say change, because if I say change, I might manifest something. So I'm being very cautious upon my words.
Yeah, you don't want to manifest anything anymore, considering what happened last year.
No, yeah. So if there's anybody to blame about the coronavirus, the 2020 pandemic, we're still in a pandemic, but other places are way worse than we are, unfortunately. But if anybody's to blame, it's probably the Red Spotlight Entertainment Network. You're welcome.
Moral of the story is maybe don't announce
things.
Yeah, on the podcast anymore.
Yeah.
Considering the track record of them completely being torpedoed. And it was all well and good, and then
somebody had to have a family reunion. I'm not naming any names, Peter Martinez.
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret.
It's okay. Yeah. Of all the people who did their homework last year of watching movies and all that stuff, he probably did the most. So
he said he watched 70 films.
70 for some mundane reason. I wasn't aware that they released 70 films last year.
Me neither. Me neither.
So I was like, okay, I guess.
I don't know where you pulled these movies out of, but no, look, it should be no secret, of
some
course.
Some cave.
Yeah. All of us here, we're in our mid-20s and we still live with our families. Hey, that's the millennial lifestyle in the 21st century. So But because
in this economy,
right, in America, because of such realities, there have been one of the most reoccurring, I would say, obstacles. Let's call them obstacles to us being able to record. Have been family-related issues.
yeah.
I think all of us can attest to not being able to.
So what you're saying is that we should all buy a TikTok influencer house, live together, and make all the content that we want?
I would never say that, only because I don't know how we would be able to do that without killing each other. Maybe finding a place of work, maybe renting a place would be nice. Living together, that is a very different situation.
I have to get dressed, though. I have to get dressed to go to this place.
Are you saying that you never dress to a podcast?
No, I'm wearing fucking Captain America PJ pants.
Well, I mean, because you're in your room. That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to say that is an added piece of comfort, having to be able to do our shows all remotely.
Yeah. It's like, okay, one of the blessings of the pandemic was like I was really focusing on taking care of my mental health during this pandemic thing. And telepsych, oh my God, has changed everything for me. And I wish and I hope that we never go back to going to in-person thing, because it's been keeping me more on track with my appointments and everything like that, because I don't have to leave my fucking room. I just do it in my fucking room, in my PJs if I want to, and I could just call it a good, call it a good, what? Call it the good.
Call it a day.
Yeah, call it a day and all that stuff, because it just lasts for like, I don't know, 10 minutes. But if I'm in a therapy session, an hour maybe. But it's just, I don't know. I like that part of the pandemic, just everything. And it just comes to show that a lot of things could be just done by email.
Yeah, the pandemic did I think expose a lot of, ultimately it exposed a fragile society in my point of view, but it also showed a lot of things that we do that are quite pointless.
Unnecessary.
And yet as in places when they're opening up again, they just ignore what can be done and we go back to normal because we refuse to learn, obviously. But there are stories of people who have had an unforeseen advantage in the pandemic. You and I, our good friend Nettie Valdez, who has appeared on the show in the past and has been a longtime friend of ours, an associate going back since the days of the Barely News crew. That's a flashback. She has, by the way, I believe I've mentioned this in the past, that she is currently attending Northridge, which is the school that she's always wanted to go, majoring in film. And what's really helped her, she lives in San Diego. Obviously, Northridge is closer to Los Angeles.
Yeah. And
one of the obstacles that really kind of got eliminated this past year for her was having to go to in-person classes. And a lot of the stuff that she had to do, she was able to basically just attend school from home. And it really has helped her mental health, her anxiety. Of course, she suffers from it. I think everybody at some point suffers from it, some more than others, unfortunately. But I can also not stress enough what you said. Keep an eye out for your mental health. Take care of your mental health. We all need to do that. If we all take care of each other, the world will be a better place. So, to keep that in mind. But that is true. Yeah. But going back to the family issue, how many times do you think, in particular, Peter's family have gotten in the way of him being able to record?
Okay, so That one time. That one
No,
time.
it wasn't just that one time.
That one. That other time. This time. Oh, that other time. Yeah, definitely. That one. Yeah. I would say a lot.
He was gone the entire month of November.
Yeah, that's funny.
And December because he
Happy
got COVID.
Thanksgiving to us.
No, I mean, it happens, man. It happens. Intrusions occur and there's nothing we can do much about it. I think at that point, his family, what?
That reminds me. Remember that scene in sorry to be tangent, but this is me we're talking about. Okay, so remember that scene in Forrest Gump where he just kept running?
Yeah.
And the person said, "Oh man, you got shit on your shoe." And he's like, "It happens." And then the guy's like, "What? Shit?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he kept on running. And then he face. Shit happens.
Oh my god. Okay. No, I mean that's very true. I remember his family was. It's hilarious. His family basically redid the entire house in stages, both of which really incapacitated Peter's ability to be on the show. The first month, obviously, which was back in November, he really couldn't be on it. And then in December, because he was bedridden because of COVID-19. Well, maybe not bedridden, but he just couldn't be on the show because obvious reasons. And then last show,
Karma's a bitch.
Oh god. This last show that I did with him, I believe it was last Thursday. Wow, it was last week already. Damn. When we talked about In the Heights and Luca, that was the first time I had seen him record from his actual bedroom in probably 2 months, because his bedroom was basically used as a storage closet because the bathroom, which is right across the hallway from his room, was being redone. So, yeah.
Again, karma's a bitch, and yeah, serves you right, Peter.
Serves him right for what?
Everything. He knows what he did.
Okay.
He knows what he did.
How many times, Kyle? Can you count the number of times where your family has just barged in on a podcast?
It's not necessarily my family, because twice my brothers would pop in my room and all that shit. But
twice. Come on.
You know, the ones that do the heavy lifting of barging into my room are my fucking dogs, particularly Dixie.
No, they bust in.
Yeah, because she knows how to open doors.
That is terrifying. I'm sorry, that is terrifying. That's like the fucking Jurassic Park velociraptors opening the doors.
I'm fully convinced that my dog Dixie, she's 3 IQ points from speaking proper English.
That is scary.
That
Your dog can open doors.
Yeah, she can open doors. It is fucking. How do you think I feel? Like in the middle of the. Okay, so last night, 2 nights ago, all right, I was soundly asleep. I finally got to sleep. Because anxiety. It takes a while for your body to calm down and all this stuff. So it was 1 o'clock in the morning, where I finally, my mind finally shut down and everything like that. I hear the alarm go off, and I'm like, what the, it's about to, to quote, some cultist church, something is about to bust.
Oh shit.
There was the alarm was like, alarm, garage door. I'm like, who the fuck is coming in through the garage?
And by the way, for those not aware, your room is right next to the
garage. Yeah,
you're the first line.
I'm
of
the
defense.
first one to go. Yeah, so if anything happens, so I was prepared. I was already thinking of scenario A, B, C, all the way through Z. I opened the door, and I was just trying to hear footsteps to see if there was anything going on. I turn on the light, hide myself behind the back fridge because we have a back fridge. It's one, by the way. I recommend having a back fridge. It's amazing during holidays.
Oh, yes. Yes.
'Cause
Everybody
you
should
could
have one.
store all your fucking leftovers in the back fridge. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, so I hide behind the fridge. Turn around the corner. It's my fucking dog Dixie. She opened the back door in the garage.
Why?
I don't know. I just saw her. And then with the big eyes, because her eyes get wide when she's in trouble, like, oh shit, like that kind of thing. I was just like, what the fuck, Dixie? What are you doing? And then she was just like, oh shit, and darted all the way upstairs. I closed the door. I set off, I turned off the alarm, reset it, locked the back door, and did this whole kind of thing. So it was a fucking nightmare. That's my dog. And it took me 2 more hours to fall asleep after all that.
Oh my God. Oh, Jesus, man. That must have given you a heart attack.
It didn't give me a heart attack. But it was
got your nerves going, didn't it?
But I was definitely prepared for the worst. So yeah, and also like I was half asleep. My mortality was the last thing on my mind. The thing that was on my mind was who the fuck woke me up.
Was Dixie like was she trapped back there? She couldn't get out of the garage
No,
when she
the
opened the
door
door?
was fucking wide open.
Oh. Damn. So at this moment, if Dixie wanted to,
she could barge into my room, yeah, easily. No problem. She just like with the because the thing is that my door, like I don't have a traditional doorknob where you put your whole hand on it and then twist it. I got like one of those like it looks like fucking you're flushing a fucking toilet kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like one of those.
a handle maybe.
Yeah. And so like she has learned how to like if her paw goes down on that, she could enter the room no problem. So it's one of those. It's a fucking nightmare. She's barged in like when I'm home alone and all that stuff, and I leave the dogs because they're sound asleep in the middle, in the middle of the day, and I decide to take a bath or a shower or anything like that. I hear and then fucking the dog barges. So it's kind of a pain in the ass, but that's my dog. I know your dogs probably couldn't reach your door handle.
Well, it's because my dogs are small. Your dogs are large.
Yeah.
Your hunting dogs. Mine are small dogs. Well, not the smallest of dogs, but like they're too short to reach it. And even if they could, the handles that I have are actual doorknobs. They're not the ones that you have. So
yeah,
even then it would be much more difficult to actually break into it. Oh boy. But yeah, that has happened sometimes.
If you had a theater room, if you owned a theater room, what would you have in your theater room? Like
what would it have?
What would the aesthetic be like in your theater room? What would your memorabilia be? Also, would you do projector or would you do just a flat screen in the front?
I probably would lean towards a screen.
A screen?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, a screen. Like a TV, you mean?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I think I would lean toward that only because I do prefer the look that comes off of television than I guess a projector.
Mm-hmm.
Because a projector, it may or may not, capture all of the colors or the picture as best as possible.
It depends on the projector.
It does very much so. And if that were the case, I don't know. That's a very good question. I think I would just go off with screen. That way I'd have access to like everything.
Mm-hmm.
Not just, I guess, whatever movies I've downloaded on the, I guess, projector or whatever. Memorabilia? I don't know. It is hard because like It's hard and easy because, first of all, like I mean, I don't own my own home. Obviously, I have my own room,
Mm-hmm.
and I would say that all of us, literally all of us, have decorated our rooms with a pretty singular theme, and that is movies.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about I mean myself. I mean, I know the running gag is that I'm the one that overly does it, but all of us have the same theme.
Yeah.
Myself, you, Alexis, David, and Peter. We all have basically walls full of movie posters or what have you, to the things that we actually love. And so we of all have had years of
Like it's
decorating
been a
our
while
rooms like
since
that.
I've seen your actual walls.
Has it been a while?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess the last time you were here, we spent most of our time looking at a TV screen. Maybe that's
Watching
what it
the
was.
atrocity that was
Ugh.
the Oscars.
The most boring thing in the world. I could never. Don't even mention it. That's why I didn't want to say what we were doing because it was so painful.
I can't physically throw up in my mouth.
Yeah. Yeah, you said it, man.
I want a TARDIS.
Well, it's like, would I want that? Sure. With that, I mean, as a theme for a projection room?
No, but like in terms of memorabilia, that's one of the things that I would love to have.
Oh,
in
you
a
mean an
theater
actual
room.
TARDIS?
Yeah, TARDIS.
Okay. That's a different situation altogether. You mean like a life-size?
A life-size TARDIS, a
Jeez.
walk-in TARDIS, and all of my movies and all that shit I want in there. I can use it as a closet.
I don't know. I mean, this is like a, I don't know, a pipe dream of sorts, but like, I would love a room entirely dedicated to me, where if we could make, I don't know, some kind of effect, a 3D effect of sorts, where the doors, instead of just like regular doors, are like, you know, themed to the TARDIS. But, and I shared with you a poll a few weeks ago that I think Bad Wolf ran, the Bad Wolf Twitter handle, of like what were people's favorite Doctor Who consoles, or their desktops, if you'd rather, of the TARDIS. And Capaldi's won out over the other ones. And
As it should.
As it should. And I'm such a big fan of his version of the TARDIS that console, that would be like a room, if I'd ever have the money to do, that I'd build, and that'd be like a personal space for me. Like, that's a beautiful study, honestly, to have.
Yeah. It like, you know, would you have the center console with all the buttons and knickknacks and all that stuff? Or would you just want you just want the octagon with the library up on, you know, on the top, you know, thing? And
it would be weird. It would be weird how it would all come together. I think I would have to find some functional purpose for having to construct the actual console itself in the center of it all.
Mhm.
But I think it is important, though, because it is kind of a centerpiece, especially I love this effect in that TARDIS as well, when they, you know, turn the TARDIS to go back in time, in the how do I describe it? Basically the upper or not the upper level, but the ceiling of it.
The rotors
Yes.
on top of the what's it, the thingy, the
Whatchamacallit.
the wibbly wobbly thingy. The rotors on top with the Gallifreyan etchings.
Yes.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
That's what I mean. And it makes the noise and everything. So maybe that. Yeah. But like, for sure, a theater room will happen at some point whenever I own my own space or whatever.
I've fallen asleep to back when I was like deeply obsessed with Doctor Who. And I've fallen asleep before. There's an ASMR ambient noise of the TARDIS, just like the like, you know, the background noise and like the beeps of the center console and just all that stuff, just ambient noise of the TARDIS.
Yeah.
You know, and just like the emptiness of space and all that stuff. I don't know. It felt good. And the dreams, might I add, when I fell asleep to it, were vivid. Like there were some good stuff. So but yeah, like the TARDIS, like that's a fucking dream right there, you know, especially with the round things. You got to have the round things. And then you open up one of the round thing panels and there's fucking liquor in there. Like what River unveils in the Husbands of River song.
Yeah. I love that.
And then he's like, I like when he's like, I didn't know that we have that. Shh, don't tell Dad. I miss River, don't you? I hope,
yes.
I hope somewhere down the line in 13's tenure, I hope that she meets River at some point.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's a pipe dream. I don't know. What do you think? What's the over under of Jodie leaving after season 13?
Well, first I want to say I apologize for the background noise. I have to once again mention my family on this show. My father is at the very last minute packing up his things, and wouldn't you know it, he is using some sort of inflating device to pump something up. What it is, I don't know. Can you hear it? Maybe a little bit. I'll do my best to eliminate the noise. But to your question about Jodie Whittaker, I would think probably it's going to happen that she's leaving, if only because all the doctors left after the third season. You know, they do 3 and then they're over with. So it's like, it really wouldn't surprise me in the least that she came back or that this was her last one. I think what would surprise me is that she came back. And I'm not really opposed to her coming back at all, or her staying. What I really want more than anything is Chris Chibnall to say, peace out. I haven't talked with Dr. Hugh in Dr. Hugh.
Dr. Hugh?
Dr. Hugh.
I haven't discussed a different universe.
In a while with you. But I would be more than happy to have Jodie Whittaker come back for a 4th season if it meant that Chibnall left. Unfortunately, she said repeatedly that she would not do the show with Chibnall there. And I think what is a shitty situation...
without Chibnall there.
Yeah. What is a shitty situation maybe made worse is there could be a scenario in which she does leave the show, but yet we still have Chibnall. And if that's the case... yeah. His presence has honestly kind of been deflating overall. There are a lot of real... like. He's made some creative choices that I personally don't think have helped the series. I know you yourself were pissed off with the then there goes the dog. There's the dog barking now. Great, now that's happening. We have all the bells and whistles out today on Red Spotlight. All of the sounds coming. Great. My family's about to enter to the garage, and now that noise is going to happen. So that's great. You yourself were upset with... the possibility of maybe having a whole season with Yaz and the Doctor, but then it being announced at the literal 11th hour that we're going to have a new companion joining in the team.
Yeah, that's what I was pissed about. I was pissed that there was a new companion because I'm like, finally, just 2 entities to figure out, because I have a feeling that this was to harken back to classic Who's problem. Too many companions in the TARDIS. Especially with Davison. So like it will be finally nice to have the Doctor finally have a companion that they have one-on-one chemistry with, you know. You could do more with it, you know. First I don't know if you want to do this route, first same-sex relationship between the Doctor and the companion. You could easily do that because like there are a lot of hints at it and throughout
I'm so glad to hear that the shipper and you never died, Kyle.
No, it doesn't. You know, 13 Yaz is like freaking on board. But I wish that they did something with it instead of just teasing, you know? Because that was the center crux between Clara, especially when Jenna Coleman confirmed it. That 12 and Clara definitely had feelings for each other, but it was just reciprocated into.
Can you speak more on that? What do you mean Jenna Coleman confirmed it? Where did she confirm this?
Okay, she confirmed this at one of the cons. Okay. She confirmed it at a con. I'm like, when Clara told Danny Pink, "I love you," she looked specifically at 12. Was that done on purpose? And she said, yes, she's very much in love with 12.
Yeah, obviously. Although I've always subscribed to that. A lot of people have a different take on it. That's always a different thing, right? The shipping community and such. Like have you kept track of all the ships you've had?
Here's the thing. I've not shipped any, except for recently, except for this week.
Except for this time.
Except for this time, which I'm like, what should I? Should I not? What is this? I haven't shipped in a while because my ships never sail. So I've mostly like said, okay, if it winds up this way, so I'm more accepting of characters' fates nowadays.
Right.
So I haven't shipped in a while, but like on the top of my head, I shipped what's it called? It's a cross between Hadley and House, with 13 in House.
13. Oh, yes.
Olivia Wilde's
Took me a while to get back to it. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I shipped that. I shipped Hook Queen from Once Upon a Time. Oh yeah,
Hooked Queen. That's right.
I shipped what's it called?
Well, Clara and the Doctor.
Hufaldi. Hufaldi was a big thing. That's the name of the ship. That's the ship name.
Okay, Hufaldi.
Hufaldi, because it was Huflay before, between Doctor Who, which was Matt Smith at the time, and Souffle Girl.
Oh my God! Really? Oh God!
Yeah, so that was the running name for a while for 11 and Clara, but now it's 12 and Clara, and it's Hufaldi. Interesting how people come up with these names, by the way.
I know. Yeah. And I'm look, there are some communities out there, or some fandoms, some ship fandoms, that are way too intense. Like, if the ship doesn't like come together,
we riot on the streets.
Well, yeah, but it gets to the point where like they're such fans of the show until they're not. And then they can't be satisfied with tearing down the thing that they've spent so much time with. I know you've been upset at ships never happening, but it never really impacted
my enjoyment of the show, yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God, like the Stucky stands, they are out of this fucking world, enough to cancel Anthony Mackie.
Oh, yes. Is that what they're called? Stucky?
I think so. That might be Steve and Bucky. But anyway, the Sam and Bucky thing was definitely a thing for Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, and
now we have Livy.
Libby. Do you remember Creddy and Seti?
Okay, what's that?
Okay, you watched iCarly, didn't you?
Yes.
Do you remember there were two like ship communities? It was Sam and Freddy, or Freddy and Carly.
Yeah.
So Creddy was the name for Carly and Freddy, and Seti was the name for Sam and Freddy.
Oh, I wish Seti was still a thing. That's what
I know, me too.
I was just like, Seti doesn't exist, so why even bother?
Well, like from what I understand, Jeanette McCurdy no longer
acts. She's retired.
Is in the business. So like at that point, what do you do when you have your reboot, right? But I did hear a rumor that she may be coming back for season 2 when they inevitably renew it. Or season 8 or 9? I don't know. Like,
It's season 2. This is a different branch.
But it's the same show, though. It's called the same thing. It's still called, it's not called like, it's not like Full House and Fuller House. It's the same show. It's the same name. It's iCarly. So it's like, is it really a new show if it's the same
like
cast?
Full of themselves.
I mean, it's not the original run, but it's like, it's a revival, but it's a continuation of what came before, and it's called the same thing. So like, what do you, anyway, so it came back. I haven't seen it yet, but actually people have enjoyed it. And like, it's hilarious how iCarly
They cuss now.
It's what?
They cuss now.
They cuss now, apparently. But it's hilarious how, like, they were able to just, like, seamlessly snatch Hilary Duff's wig. Poor Hilary Duff, though, because she really gave it a valiant effort to, like, she was in negotiations with Disney, and she tried to get something off the ground with a
Lizzie McGuire.
Yeah, a Lizzie McGuire sequel series that would deal with adult themes and stories, and they could not relent. They would not whatsoever. And so the project died. You know, good on Hilary Duff for not like capitulating and not compromising on what she wanted the show to be.
They did this to her before.
Of course.
Because
we know the story.
Okay, as soon as she joined the Actors Union, which she wasn't before when she first signed on for this is all in Disney War, by the way. So what happened is that she wasn't.
This is in Disney War, the Michael Eisner book?
Yeah. This is the Hilary Duff thing is in there. Just like
does she have her own chapter?
Not her own chapter, but a few pages are dedicated to this.
Wow.
Okay, so what happened is that Hilary Duff, right? She wasn't union when she first joined on to Lizzie McGuire. Lizzie McGuire turned into this big old gigantic pop culture phenomenon where everybody was like, oh, Lizzie McGuire, Lizzie McGuire, Lizzie McGuire. It's pretty much Hannah Montana before Hannah Montana was Hannah Montana.
Wasn't Lizzie McGuire like the very first big like
Disney Channel show?
Teen sitcom, like
yeah, it
series.
was that and Even Stevens that, you know, pretty much changed Disney Channel from being the animated forefront to, hey, these live action sitcoms, teen sitcoms are actually, you know, going off the ground. So she was like, her agent was like, okay, it's taking off big. Get yourself a union, girl. Let's put you on, you know, union scale. Let's, you know, give you SAG wages and all that stuff. And due to her contract of her being under contract without the SAG wages, Michael Eisner and the head of the television division at the time wouldn't budge on upping her price, so she quit. And that's why Lizzie McGuire only lasted for, I think, 3 seasons. And she joined the union right before she filmed the movie, so the only time she was really like paid for SAG was when she did the Lizzie McGuire movie.
There is a side tangent there about how this country really likes to frown and crap on labor unions. I'm not going to go there. We all know what it is.
Yeah.
That's a pretty fucked up story.
It is.
Well, you know what? Like, I don't know. Hilary Duff.
Hitler?
Like, I was going to say Lizzie McGuire. I was going to say Lizzie. I never said Hitler.
You said
Stop
Hitler.
It. I didn't
You were going to say Hillary, but you said Hitler.
Oh, come
on. We have the tapes.
Hilary Duff seemed to have been one of the few Disney stars to walk away unscathed from a mental health perspective or a personal run-in with the law. It's crazy these last couple of years. I just heard Drake Bell was found guilty of something. He's going to prison.
But that's Nickelodeon, though.
Well, I mean, in general, these teen sitcoms, and that's true. Nickelodeon, that is rarer than it is with Disney. Now, with Disney, and Kyle Massey was just found guilty of something.
Child pornography.
Oh, what?
Child pornography.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That is... Oh wow!
Oh, wow.
Okay. No, that didn't mean it that way. That's bad. That's real bad. Anyway, back to the thing with iCarly. I'm curious to check it out and see how it is. People have said some really good things about it and how it's aged and everything. There is this great video essay I want to recommend to people out there, although it is long, but that is his main profession. He is a YouTube video essayist, Quentin Reviews. And he just uploaded, he watched all the episodes of iCarly in preparation for this video, and part 1 is 4 hours long. Part 1's 4 hours long. Covers seasons 1 through 3.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a long ass fucking video.
Yeah.
Aren't you glad, Art? Never mind. We've done 4-hour podcasts.
Yeah, let's not go there. Anyway, back to the whole shipping situation. That's why, it reminded me of the whole Creddy and SETI thing. And that was a show that legitimately, I think, used a lot of material off of those ships.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's something that I was referring to before when some, ship fandoms can get toxic, especially when their ship doesn't work out and then they start attacking the people behind the show.
Yeah.
So I have noticed, especially in the last few years, for sure that last year, the Felinda fandom, which I believe, we're all Felindas. I mean, we all want to see Ming-Na Wen's Melinda May and Clark Gregg's Phil Coulson be together. Now,
Who are they?
I'm sorry?
Who are they?
Oh.
I'm just kidding.
Let's not play this. Come on, you know who they are. You're in the Felinda fandom anyway.
Yeah, I am.
So, and you yourself brought forward some issues you had from the finale. You haven't seen the last 2 seasons, but you do know that in the end, they're not necessarily together. Now, out of context, I understand the frustration. That's not something that you would foresee happening. I mean, everybody would want.
Hold on. Spoilers for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. if you care.
Yeah.
So, this whole time, Phil Coulson, from that arc on, is the LMD, correct?
Which arc?
After he sold his soul to Ghost Rider.
No, when he sold his soul to Ghost Rider, that was season 4. In season 5, that was the last season with him basically alive. All the other versions that come thereafter, in season 6, Clark Gregg is there, but he's not playing Coulson. He's playing Coulson in cameos, but he's playing a different character that season. In season 7, he's playing Coulson, but he's playing an LMD version of Coulson. So that's where we are with that. And there is an arc that he has.
What in the actual Doctor Who is going on?
I know. Well, I mean, watch the show and you'll figure it out for yourself. It's on Netflix. All 7 seasons are right there. You could you've watched WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier, and Loki. You could very easily access all those episodes at any point that you wish.
But those are canon, though.
Okay, fuck you. Anyway, Coulson has this whole LMD existential arc that season, and Melinda May has this thing where she isn't feeling any emotions. But there is a specific thing behind it, more so than the usual. Anyway, they don't necessarily end up together as a couple. However, OG Coulson did. Felinda happened for them, but then he died. So with this other Coulson, they still have the same friendship with each other, but the series ended with them literally not being in the same physical space. The finale made no such like final like word, oh, they're not a couple and they never will be. The finale didn't say anything like that. They just weren't physically in the same room together. Melinda May was off doing her thing, and actually, you know, you just reminded me that
oh boy, here we go.
no, Ming-Na Wen, because she's being interviewed because she's on The Bad Batch, right, with her character Fennec Shand.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and she was asked a question about her end, the end of the character. And she was saying that while her story, this is what she says, while her story when it came to Coulson himself wasn't necessarily over, that's what she's saying, S.H.I.E.L.D. gave her a peaceful ending that still allowed her to train the next generation. So it was far more focused with what, you know, made sense for May than to fulfill the fantasies of a couple. That isn't to say that LMD Coulson, which is the version of Coulson that is existing at this moment, can't hook up with May and they can't be a couple. It's just at that moment, they're not at that place yet. You see how this got all the Felindas so upset? And what I wanted to say is that it's one thing if you feel like really dissatisfied with that ending. Sure. It's another thing to say the quality of the show deteriorated solely because your ship didn't materialize in the way that you wanted it to. And it's another thing altogether to criticize anybody else that liked the season, much less go after the actual people who worked on the show. That's not okay. That's a different thing altogether.
Takes a hit out of
literally
CBD. But okay, so my point being, look at Once Upon a Time, okay? In the 7th season, it what's his name? Colin O'Donoghue was not playing Killian Jones.
Right.
Hook. He was playing a different version of Hook.
Right.
And he was getting nice and friendly with Regina.
I never saw season 7. Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
He was getting
was it giving you false hope?
It was giving me so much false hope. You have no idea. And then it turns out that one, like, as soon as, like, any inkling, any semblance of, oh, maybe, that version of the character disappears and now it's back to regular old Hook. Completely pissed me off. Oh, and apparently Hook, that version of Hook, is the father of Alice from Alice in Wonderland. Once Upon a Time logic, everyone. Yeah. Alexis is giving me a bewildered look of disbelief, but belief at the same time.
Well, this is what happens when shows get to season 7, right? I mean, look at the show that just ended. I never saw it, but I always knew of it because of how long it was running. David actually saw all of the show, and he might be the person. He may be the resident expert because he watches the CW shows. Supernatural, right? Is that the call? Is that the name of the show? 15 seasons! It went on for 15 seasons! And guess what? I think I read the other day that they're actually thinking about doing a prequel series, spin-off?
Yeah, which is basically going to be pretty much How I Met Your Mother, but with Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character and the mom. I don't know what the name.
I didn't even know Jeffrey Dean Morgan was on that show.
Yeah, he played the Winchester brothers' father.
Huh.
That's pretty much where he got like his pop culture start.
Yeah. By the way, anyway, that's all I wanted to say on the ships and everything. It's like it is what it is. But like when The Walking Dead, when is that ending?
Do you know? The next season is the last season.
Yeah, I know it is. But is it going to come back this year or next year?
It's coming back in August.
Ooh, okay. And it's like, was it? Do you know how many episodes are coming back for?
I think 10.
Wow. Do you know it's all? Are they gonna like broadcast it all at like the 10 weeks? Or are they gonna like split it off and let's say half air in this fall and then half air in the winter?
Spring? You know, I hope not. I hope not, because that would like I want to eventually catch up with that show. You know, because like there's so many like missing details.
Have you not caught up with Walking Dead?
Yes and no. I know what's going on, but I haven't seen it. The only episode I saw was Here's Negan.
Mm.
You know, but
the one where it gets back to his origin.
Yeah, because I
talked about
I had
that.
to see it because Negan's my favorite character on there. FBI, don't come after me.
Why would they come after you?
Because he's such a freaking sociopath on the show. He's a complex sociopath. I should add that. But anyway, so I had to watch that episode, but I know what's going on. I know what happened with the Whisperer War, and I know all that stuff. Again, spoilers if you care, because like it used to reach like 8 million viewers, 9 million viewers, 10 million viewers. Now they could barely crunch 2 million.
Really?
I think a lot of people dropped off after that explosive season 7 episode 1. When he pretty much slaughtered Abraham and Glenn. That did not go well with a lot of people, so they were just like, nope, we're not doing this show anymore. With good reason. I see why a lot of people would be heartbroken and all that shit. But I'm not caught up with it, so I would like to eventually catch up with it later this year, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. Are you still there? You look frozen.
I'm fine.
Oh,
I'm fine.
Okay.
I was keeping an eye on the internet connection because it did seem iffy a little bit there.
Yeah.
But that's all I was keeping an eye out for. That's interesting. But it's like that's also a show that's been going on for a really long time now. Man, it's crazy to think about all that.
9 seasons.
Yeah, about to be 10.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But yeah. So are we doing Black Widow next week?
I'll have to see what my schedule is like.
I have to think most likely yes, right? Like Thursdays are usually good Thursdays? 9 times out of 10?
7 times out of 10. More like.
7 times out of 10. Okay. Well, we'll see. I
want to do an After Dark.
We haven't done one in a long time.
Yeah.
It's been such a long. I mean, if we are gonna go see it, would I love to do an After Dark? Of course.
It just depends. It just depends on that.
Yeah. Evidently, I have your camera.
Yeah.
Why I have your camera? I don't know.
Because I always leave it in your car.
Huh. And yeah. So maybe the last time we did After Dark?
I think the last After Dark we did was Cats.
It must have been, right?
What if we just end the series right there? Like, there's nowhere to go from there. Just fucking Cats. That's it. That'd be funny, though.
It would be, honestly. It would be hilarious. But yeah, there's that. You know, honestly, this just caught my attention now, but I don't know what the fuck Disney's thinking with a lot of the decisions they're making these days. But when you really kind of look back at movies are slowly coming back now. When you look at how great Fast and Furious did this week, considering that we're still, lingering in a pandemic, like, don't you think that Disney is leaving a lot of money on the table by A, not putting Luca in theaters, and B, simultaneously making Black Widow available on Disney Plus at the same time as movies. Like, I don't know what they're thinking at this point.
To be honest, I don't know either. Okay. Let's get into corporate conspiracies for a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Do you think Bob Chapek was put in the place of power due to the foresight of the pandemic, and he's an interim CEO?
A lot of people are thinking that. And I think a lot of it is due to wishful thinking, because a lot of people, and I think it's very well warranted, do not care for that man.
Yeah.
Especially since a lot of the decisions that have been made have kind of been, as Nick Fury would say, stupid-ass decisions.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we can't elect to ignore them because we have no power and he has all the power. I tend to think no. I mean, the conspiracy does make sense because Bob Chapek did take over the year of the pandemic. It was done early enough before anyone really had a thought that it would seriously impact the U.S.
Yeah, it happened a week before the lockdown. I mean, if that's not coincidence enough, I don't think anything else tops it, really.
I'm here. Go ahead.
Okay. He was named CEO a week before the lockdowns nationwide.
Seriously.
If that's not a coincidence, I don't think anything else is. To be honest.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I hope that's true because I want him gone. Yeah. Because
I want
it's
him
not
gone
true.
too. Shit.
It's like, but we all knew, like, it was about a year ago, and we're like, why Bob Chapek? Of all the people in the world, you're gonna put Mr. Cheapskate as the head of the company? Why? And then what I also don't like, it's like, well, maybe they're using him to make all of the unpopular decisions that they couldn't normally get away with. Because of all the things that they've just taken away, under the guise of a pandemic. Oh, yeah, well, I don't know if it's been officially announced yet, but it was trending today on Twitter, on Diz Twitter. And I was like heartbroken to see that I may never experience this restaurant now. Because from what I read, and the rumor going around is, Steakhouse 55 restaurant at the famous Steakhouse 55 restaurant at Disneyland Hotel may stay closed permanently. Why?
Why?
That's a signature restaurant of the resort. Based on all indications from what I hear of people who have actually eaten there and stayed there for several days. It's like, why would you do that? What the hell's wrong with you? Like, how many times do I have to say, what the hell is wrong with you to any decision that Bob Chapek makes?
Is it Bob Chapek though? Or is it Josh D'Amaro that's making those?
I mean,
kind of
it
decisions?
very well could be Josh D'Amaro, but it all comes down to a cost issue. And if it's a cost issue, well, I know who was going to mince words more than the other. Let's be real about that. That's what it ultimately all comes down to, is the goddamn money of it. And of course they are a business. I get it. But it's like, this company especially did not get to fame, did not get to notoriety because it knew how to save a buck. It rose to fame and to great acclaim because it knew where to spend a pretty penny in the right places. Mm-hmm. And we've seen throughout the course of the history of these last couple of decades, through almost 70 years now of this particular resort in the parks, obviously, and then also it can also extend to the studio itself and other functions of the company. We've seen time and time again, when they go overboard on cheaping things out left and right, people get mad, and the quality of all of their products, whether it be in the parks themselves, whether it be the actual films, it suffers. And when it suffers, people get pissed, and then they're forced to overspend to correct these things. I just don't understand why they have to make the same mistakes again and again and again. By the way, if you haven't listened to the recent Fantasy Fair podcast where we discussed Avengers Campus, stop this podcast right now and go listen to that, because that was a great illustration, a great example of how frustrated we feel like right now. And we shouldn't feel this way, especially since our trip that we so looked forward to last year was canceled under the worst of circumstances, clearly. And we want to go back, and we will go back this year, but I can't feel.
Hey, don't manifest anything.
I know. Well, I hope to. Who knows what will actually happen? But I can't help but feel that it's been slightly tainted by how horrid some people's experiences have been at the parks lately.
Yeah. I mean, it's a difficult situation for fucking sure. I mean, we're avid Disney fans. I mean, half of the fucking posters that you have on your things are Disney related. You know, I mean, I have my own Disney shrine up on my above my closet and all that stuff. Fuck, You have a portrait of the man. You have a portrait of the man on your wall. You know, typically a Catholic would have, you know, a crucifix and rosary and all that stuff in the room, but no, I have a picture of Walt Disney drawing Mickey Mouse. You know, that's what I have in my room. Cultist, you know, maybe. The only scent my room smells like is bromine, the famous chemical that they use to clean the waters at Disneyland and the Disney resorts. But so
wait, what'd you say again? You have a candle that's scented to that?
I have a chemical that smells like bromine, the chemical that's used to clean.
A chemical?
Yeah. That's used to clean.
So this is not a scent from Magic Candle Company?
This is the scent from Magic Candle Company, but it's supposed to smell like that.
Oh, okay.
It's supposed to smell like bromine, which is the it sounds like a fucking douchebag term. What chemical are you making? Dude, I'm making bromine.
Oh my god.
But it's the chemical that they use to clean the waters of Splash Mountain, Pirates of the Caribbean. You know, if you remember that smell of the water, that's what you're smelling, the bromine chemical. You're not smelling the water itself. So I think that with all that being said, we love Disney. We love Disney, you know, and all that stuff. There's a reason why there's a specific Disney, and there's my dog. Barging
right on cue.
Podcast.
Here's Dixie.
So we know a thing or two about Disney. We love a thing or two about Disney, and to see it being treated in such like this dispassionate way without any like foresight, it kind of reminds me of late tenure Michael Eisner, but it shouldn't be that way because it's the beginning of if all the conspiracies are false, it should be the beginning of Chapek's career. And what did Eisner do when what did Iger do when he first started? Bought Pixar. Did an expansion program on Disney's California Adventure. He did so many things in his beginning run as CEO of Disney that it was utterly impressive what he did. You know, and he cleaned up a lot of mess that that Eisner was unfortunately responsible for in the late stages of his tenure. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe things might turn out for the best, but I'm not, you know, counting my chickens on that.
I'm not optimistic about it, you know?
No, not at all, you know? So I would like to think that because, like, it's Disney. We invest in Disney all the time. We're talking about going to see Black Widow next week, you know? We're going to be paying them out some way, you know, one way or another, you know? So, it's one of those things that I hope is not, you know, that leaves the company in a utter stalemate, you know. So I don't know.
Especially, what else is really bothering me? I know it kind of mentioned it before with, how Luca is not getting a theatrical run, but I kind of use it in the context of I don't know what the fuck they're thinking. I really am kind of disgusted with how they have no problem with this narrative out there, which kind of almost makes me feel like it's true, that they're kind of treating Pixar now like it's like on the lowest of tiers for them. Like it's their lowest priority because there's been no statement, but the only movies really, the two Pixar films that were pushed to Disney Plus
for free.
Yeah. And all other films, which include Cruella and Raya and Mulan and the upcoming Jungle Cruise and Black Widow, from the other departments of the Disney studio, they have a premium access charge. And that starts to look fishy. Like, what are you saying?
About Pixar, yeah.
Yeah. And it's just not right. And it was understandable with Soul. Why? Because there were no vaccines then. And it was still awful. Like, there was no way you could go to a theater. With Luca? What's the excuse? What is the excuse with Luca? Most people are vaccinated now. Theaters are open.
A thought just crossed my mind.
Yeah, what?
What if it's to build up and to focus more on the time and focus on the spotlight on trying to build up Black Widow?
Well, that is one thing, but that narrative falls apart. I mean, Cruella's still in theaters, and then also Jungle Cruise comes out next month. So it's like, if they wanted to dedicate the whole month to Black Widow, why also release Jungle Cruise that same month as well? That's also getting a theatrical.
You mean
release.
this month, because today is the 1st.
Yes, excuse me. Oh, that's right. We're recording this the 1st of July. Sorry, I'm still thinking it's June, but we're in July now. So, yeah, this month it's coming out. So that's why I don't necessarily would subscribe to that thinking per se. It's honestly just infuriating. Really, really infuriating. And of course, that's just where we are. Disney Plus didn't need Luca. Although I will say I am happy that at the very least, Luca, from what I understand, has done very well on Disney Plus and far exceeds the impact that Mulan, Cruella, and Raya did on the service. Why? Because you had to pay for those. And it was hilarious that I think today I shared a headline from Forbes that
people are finally watching Raya.
That poor movie too. That also just kind of
was blunted.
It came out and it did nothing. It did nothing. Yeah, they're really frustrating overall. Yeah, I didn't mean to get all flustered and shit.
No, that's again, it's cheaper than therapy.
That is true. That certainly is true. That being said, though, and I think I've said this for a while, we're not really looking at going, we hope to go. Nothing is confirmed. When I say that, we hope to come back to the parks later in the year.
Yeah.
Do you think that I think already masks are they're not mandatory, they're optional right now. But as far as and maybe they're already back to normal now. Are they operating at full capacity and are all the rides back up and running?
It's 75% capacity right now.
What about the rides that they didn't open with last month?
The Matterhorns just opened up out of the out of the blue within the last 2 days.
Oh yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that by the time we go there, everything would be open up.
Huh.
Oh, get this.
Get
Get this.
Yeah.
According to the Washington Post, when Virginia legalizes marijuana Thursday, people 21 and older can finally roll up across the state in small amounts and even cultivate up to 4 plants, just not on college campuses. Things are on the up and up.
There should be. Do you expect we'll see fireworks coming back anytime soon at the parks as a nightly thing?
Oh, I thought you were talking about 4th of July. I'm like, bruh, there's gonna be fireworks no matter freaking what.
Which is why I'm fleeing the area.
Well, they're already doing it in Florida. I think that...
They're starting to in Florida, I think.
Let me see, because I remember seeing something Fresh Baked did. Fireworks, Disneyland. Hold on.
Yeah, it may be coming back soonish. I just want to know, because, like, I also have been saying for the longest time about, like, why would you want to go to the park?
Okay. This was 22 hours ago, aka last night. Mickey's Mix Magic Fireworks show makes early appearance at Disneyland.
Huh.
So it's coming back. So it's like it's here. It's here now.
Okay, that's good. Hopefully that won't get derailed.
So that means, like, you know, the parks would stay, you know, open later, and we're gonna get back to normal time. I just fucking pray it's not gonna be overcrowded if we ever go.
Yeah. If we ever go, that's a good thing to mention that. I cannot believe it's fucking July. You just blew my mind.
This year is more than halfway over.
Yeah. What's happening?
Which is good, because the further away we are from 2020, the better.
Yeah, that is true. That is also very much true. We're getting closer to some pretty exciting films, in particular The Suicide Squad.
Oh, that's going to be a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Theater.
Good time, no alcohol required.
Alcohol, well, not required, because, like, it's a James Gunn piece.
No alcohol required.
Oh. Although you can bring alcohol. I mean,
well, yeah,
sneak it in.
Some places do serve them. Some theaters are cool enough to serve alcohol.
Ooh, I would love to go to a theater like that.
The Regal that I frequented, which is still open, thankfully, in DC,
did that?
They had this. They had a machine where you can get frozen Jack and Coke.
Oh shit!
Yep.
Fucking fancy as shit. That's nice. Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure, we're gonna see that in theaters, right? No duh, right? Okay.
That's not even a question. It's not even a question. We're gonna do it. No debate. We're gonna do it. Even though, like, it will be on HBO Max.
We're still gonna do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna support our homeboy James Gunn.
Absolutely.
And Peter Capaldi's in it, so.
Oh, that's right. He is also in it, as well as a bunch of other people.
I was really the one thing I'm disappointed about that movie is I was hoping that Peter Capaldi would play Victor Freeze.
He's not.
No.
He's playing the Thinker, I think.
Yeah.
Huh. The Thinker, I think.
Yeah.
That's funny.
What are you, A.A. Milne?
Maybe. Maybe not.
It is the Thinker, I think.
But you said, by the way, this weekend, so as we mentioned, this weekend, and this episode drops 4th of July weekend, so happy 4th to all of you. But as I mentioned, I will be leaving the area. And it just so happens, as one Alexis leaves the valley, another Alexis
arrives
comes to take its place. And it turns out that Miss Moreno, your co-host on the Fantasy Fair podcast, is making the trip down to the Devil's Anus, which is the Imperial Valley that we call it here. And it looks like you two may we spent some time together for the first time in
forever
months.
Yeah.
Must be nice.
Must be nice. It must be
Must
nice.
be nice. To have Moreno on your side.
It's perfectly balanced, as all things should be. As when Alexis leaves and another one arrives.
I know, right?
Funny.
You can't make this shit up.
No, it's good. I like it. Before I forget, Loki, I have a question for you. Okay, I already asked, threw it out in the ether, but nobody seemed to answer me. So I'm gonna ask you.
Peter answered you.
All he said was,
responded.
"It seems like it," but it could be.
That's an answer.
It could be either one of those questions that I asked. So really, he didn't answer anything. So question is,
spoilers for Loki.
Spoilers for Loki. Is the thing that Loki feels for Sylvie, is it a romantic love, or is this just a metaphor for self-love that he's never felt before?
I think the answer is both. I'm not 100% sure, but I think the show is going for both of those things in one. Because as Mobius said, what an insane narcissist. You fell for yourself. That is hilarious. But that is the truth. But clearly in the last weeks, especially, there is this reoccurring theme that Lokis have never been loved and they've never felt love themselves. And it seems like that's changing. And wouldn't you know it, it's with each other.
Yeah.
Now, like, they're not the same person though. Like they're a variation of an entity, but they're very much from different multiverses.
Yeah.
I don't want to use that word because I guess that's not the TVA's lingo here, but they're very much like different people. And as we saw on the show, they're not at all the same. There are some similarities.
Yeah.
But like, to me, I would consider it to be like, I mean, it is at first kind of like, that's interesting.
Committing some self-censor here.
Well, that's the thing. I was worried, and I haven't seen too much of this. I don't know, maybe if you have, but I was worried there was going to be like some controversy that exploded with this decision of like some people, you know how film Twitter is a gutter. It doesn't take long for somebody to like think up some annoying think piece. Is Loki and Sylvie incest? Like,
no.
But like, you understand my reasons for thinking like people would like get on that train.
But it's not, because it's themselves. If anything, it's just glorified, amplified, dramatized masturbation, if anything.
Well, it kind of reminds me, and it's interesting because apparently it's the 4th anniversary of the Doctor Falls, which was the series 10 finale of Doctor Who. God, I cannot believe it's been 4 years since series 10 ended. That is, wow.
Is it just me? Or did the ending of this Wednesday's episode, or last Wednesday's episode, feel like the throne room battle in The Last Jedi?
Well, I mean, I think it was part of, I mean, they're similar. That's sure, especially with how certain shots are like. Was I as excited? I don't think I was as excited, but I think it goes for a similar thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in and of itself, in a vacuum, it was the most exciting part of the episode where it all came together. So I understand what you mean by that. No, I mean, it's a very interesting question you pose. Ultimately, though, I feel it's all very great for fleshing out Loki and giving him something new to work with here, which is ultimately what the hope was for these shows. They're just doing such great work, such great character work, you know? It's like, thank you. Thank you for giving us something actually great. Like, who would have thought? Who would have thought like the greatness coming out of the Disney Plus output would be in the Marvel shows, which honestly, years ago, we all kind of rolled our eyes at. Like, really?
Like Loki show, WandaVision show, Falcon and Winter Soldier, it just seems like bottom of the barrel kind of thing. But now it's just like some of the best content like I've seen in ages in terms of like
honestly, like on paper, as you said, these shows sound like typical Disney corporate mandated creations.
Mhm.
You have to make these shows because you have to. But in the best case scenario, they take a corporate mandate and they turn it into something truly beautiful.
Yeah. Like Ultron once said. Okay. There's a bit of a controversy going on. Like, I completely disagree.
You don't
say. Yeah,
say.
Right. Okay. Do you think episode 3 was filler?
No.
Okay, because a lot of people view it that way.
I know. Like, we discussed it on the Loki Loki recap with that episode when they were on Lamentus 1. No, and I was ranting as hell. I was really pissed off because, like, people were saying, oh, it was a waste of time when nothing happened. And I'm like, idiots. Okay, did it progress the plot? Okay, that's the thing. That's another issue. It's like people's obsession with plot being the priority, being the most important thing. I'm sorry, sometimes it isn't, and sometimes it's healthy for that to take a back seat for healthy character development.
Mm-hmm.
We got to see these great actors in Sophia DiMartino and Tom Hiddleston as their characters interact with each other, live in this space, and it was powered by some great dialogue on the part of Michael Waldron, who is the head writer of the show. It was so enjoyable and entertaining. It wasn't the best episode in the world. It wasn't the best episode of the series, but it was of the caliber. The idea that it was such a decline in quality and to dismiss it as filler or nothing important happened is part of why I am so often annoyed with audiences. It's part of what happens when you take a show that maybe was intended to be binge and you air it week to week.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole other thing. But this is kind of what happens when you do that and you get idiotic takes like this. I'm sorry if anyone out there listens and they felt like that episode was a waste of time, but I have no patience for that because clearly what happened in that episode served what happens in episode 4, which everyone loved, by the way, which was phenomenal. One of the best episodes
Because
that Marvel has made.
The main point of this is the whole Loki-Sylvie dynamic.
Yes.
And we would have never gotten that had not been for that. You know, you needed a time with them together alone. How else would you get at them alone if not for this scenario? You know,
Yeah.
You put them both in a very pressing situation. They're going to have pressing emotions, you know, crossfiring amongst each other. And here you have this whole entire dynamic going on with each other. A lot of people compared it to the Doctor Who episode, which is also, I find very funny.
Which one?
The third episode
Of Doctor Who?
of Loki. They find the third episode very Whovian.
Yeah. Yeah. David and I did mention that as fellow Whovians ourselves. Like it did have a feel like that of sorts. Of course, the difference here being is that they have the actual budget to spend most of the episode outside rather than inside.
Yeah.
So it had that going for it. Yeah, that's a thing. Like people just, in general, they place too much value on plot. You know, it's not just about that. It's the same situation with Luca. Luca's getting a lot of, I'm not even going to say hate, just a lot of like whatevers from people because like, well, the story really wasn't all that, you know, it was really one-dimensional.
It didn't make me cry, therefore bad.
Well, that's one thing, right? But there are people that were like, did you see Chris Stuckman's review on Luca? That had to have been one of the most enraging things I've seen because his main issues with the movie were that they didn't explain enough what this world was.
That's the thing, though. A lot of people need a lot of... Audiences require a lot of hand holding, I must say, when watching movies. And I'm like, whatever happened to nuance, you know?
But also, whatever happened to simplicity? Not everything has to go for the same things. Not everything has to be it has to be complex. It doesn't have to be like metaphysical. It doesn't have to like be a subversion of a genre to be great. There are different ways to be great.
It's like, it's like what? Okay, imagine this. Modern day audiences are watching the first Toy Story for the very first time.
Oh, God, here we go.
Wait, the toys are alive? How are they alive? Why are they alive? Who made them alive? You know? Is this toy related to Palpatine?
Oh my God. Maybe. Stands to reason. That's a good chance.
What is this world? You know, how can, you know, explain the dynamic between a toy and a human. How come humans don't know? Well, like, do they breathe? What is the, what is the anatomy of a toy? You know, and you go into all these logistics. I'm like, I don't know. But it's just the premise of the first Toy Story was based on the premise of, what if a toy was trying to look for you as much as you were trying to look for it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because everybody's lost that favorite toy at one point. And they spent like a long time trying to look for it. And so that's what the basis of that one is. And that's such a simple plot, but yet they ran with it and made it, its completely own thing. And for modern day audiences to completely wrap around simplicity like that, just that sheer concept, I don't know what it is. Is it CinemaSin brainwash that's happened with a lot of people? Is it something else? Is it that this pandemic that's completely wiped away a lot of IQ points off a lot of people? I don't know what it is, but it's...
Me neither, man.
But modern day film audiences are... I'm trying to think of a harsher word than annoying.
I feel like they prioritize the wrong qualities in terms of how they choose to value films. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, like what Guillermo del Toro says, to me, the least interesting thing is plot. What's more interesting are the themes and the characters and the space that it's living in. Ultimately, that's what the movie leaves us feeling. But for like a lot of, I think, general audience people, because he even said it himself when Del Toro was talking about this, people ask if they want to see a movie, what's it about? That's always the first question they ask. And he's like, but why? Like, why should we decide what value we designate a movie just based entirely on what's it about? Excuse me, what's it about? Because
right,
we don't.
right when you coughed, I got an alert on my computer that said antivirus scan. So just to let you know, according to my computer, you are clear of viruses.
Could that? Okay. All right. That's good to know. Yeah. Like what Del Toro would say, like, you don't judge like a Van Gogh or a Van Gogh painting on like, what's it about? That's... Yeah. It's, general audience members are perplexing. Because, In the Heights just came out. If it wasn't apparent before, In the Heights was just about a failure on every platform imaginable. And that's really a shame. But even more so, because I was watching, Grace Randolph does this series, Movie Math, and she broke down the success of Furious 9, or F9. And the majority of the audience that turned out for that movie were Hispanics. Latinos. They were driven to go watch that. But they could not. Fuck me. I had to do that. Fine. They were driven, pun intended now, to go watch that, but they could not be bothered to go see In the Heights.
Because you know why? Because it's about family.
Both movies are about family. In the Heights was about family too.
But one had racing cars, and I like racing cars.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's not to say that they're wrong for choosing this to go there. I'm just saying it's like, wow, it's amazing that one film tried so hard to be this pinnacle event for a particular like group of people, and they didn't care. And the very next week, they choose to go watch a franchise film, which of course is exactly what rules the town. So there we are. That's nothing new, of course.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a shame that in the Heights in particular, it was such a good film, and it is a miserable failure. Any way you slice it, a miserable failure. It is out of the top 5 at the box office. It's being dumped across the country from screens. It's over. Stick a fork in it.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think we're going to go. Kyle has to go, and we're going to wrap it up now for this. Thank you for listening to our tangents. For those that actually bothered, thank you all. I hope you're having a holiday weekend. We will catch you next time on Red Spotlight and also on Fantasy Fair Podcast. Anywhere listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, CastBox, YouTube, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Stitcher, all of them. Mondays, Fridays for Fantasy Fair, and Sundays and Thursdays for Red Spotlight. Until next time, stay under the spotlight. Bye-bye.